Okay, so the machine's turned on now. This is the first screen you'll be greeted with. Depending on how the machine's set up, you can actually pick and choose what menu items you have here. We'll generally put that to spec before it leaves our warehouse and factory, but you do have the option to play around with that for your most common menus. So straight off the bat, you'll see if you have the signal lamp here, there's no colors on here. That's because the machine currently isn't turned on. So I've just got run stop here. Right now, it's not going to print or do anything. As soon as I click run, I've just turned this machine on. You will get this menu pop up that says the viscosity control is not performed. Printing may be trouble, appear error screen, execute the run. We're just going to hit yes. What that means is only once the machine has been operating and turned on for running for anywhere from about 15 minutes to an hour, will perform the viscosity control, which essentially is it just measures the thickness or the viscosity of the ink, and it will balance that out between a blend of the ink itself and the solvent or makeup fluid. If it hasn't done one of those operations since it's been turned on, it will give you that menu. It doesn't mean there's going to be an issue, but it's just letting you know it hasn't performed it, so it doesn't actually know what the viscosity of the ink is at present. And I'll just show you quickly, if we jump into unit info, we'll just have here viscosity and supply, and there's nothing here because it hasn't actually run the test yet. So jumping back, I've hit run. We've got the green light on, which essentially means it's ready to print. If we run something past our photoelectric sensor, it's going to print. What's it going to print? This message just here. Now, if this is the first time you've turned the machine on, this will be completely blank. So what you're going to do is click menu, and then we have print setting over here. This first column is 99% of what you'll be using. We have message selection, message edit, and condition. Those three are the main ones we will play with. So if I was to jump into message selection, you would see I've already set this machine up just for our test here. But let's say I've got not registered. That's what 001 used to be. And just for simplicity's sake, that's what I'm going to work with. So I'll click a not registered. You can see there's no name here. I'm just going to have this little green circle, which is the equivalent of a green tick. Set, yes, it is not registered. Create, yes. So this is our blank canvas. This is how we create the message and how we import different modules. The KGK is slightly different than a traditional inkjet coder in the sense that it's a far more versatile machine in terms of being able to control and configure everything, but it can take a little while to get used to if you've never used one before. So this top layer here is my message name. So for today, let's just say I'm doing, my green bottle. I'll type that in there, and then, in a week's time, when I've changed all the settings, I can always look up green bottle and that'll be my menu. So that's the message name. This section here is actually what I'm going to be using for creating the message itself. Now, you can do as many lines as you want with the KGK with a couple of provisos here. Now, this is just going to be a quick setup and tutorial. If you want the in-depth stuff, I highly recommend you take a look at the manual because it will really explain every element on here perfectly. So the first thing I'll do is change this grid from 1 row to no rows. Now, then what I'm going to want to do is actually create a message. So I have create module here, and I have switch to. I'm always going to leave it on select. And then this A symbol here is actually to create or insert new text. The calendar symbol, that's to insert a calendar or a date or a time that actually fluctuates and alters with the system clock that we have up here. This 1, 2, 3 is if just so I want to insert some numbers, barcode, QR code, images, distances, and this is just our interval module, which we won't be using with our photoelectric sensor. So again, 99% of what we do, I'll click the A, I'll click where I want to insert this. I'll come up here and I've got a couple of modules, which essentially just means you create the module and then you can pull it into different messages without having to write everything again. In this instance, I'm going to again go to something where it says not registered, meaning there's no data. I'm just going to click the pencil symbol with the eraser, which means I'll be able to edit it. I'll come up here, and because I've selected text, all I can enter in here is just the alphanumeric system here. So in this one, I'll just again, PackServe training, click the tick, comes across, set, Yes. And now this is an option for another module that I can pull into my message. Once I've selected what I'm actually going to put in, I'm going to click the select symbol, and you can see that that's now in here. You can see when I click this, it gets the red square around it. If I try, and this is the number one tip for you, if I try and grab this and drag it or do anything to it, it won't let me do anything. What you need to be aware of is once you have the red square around a certain section of the module or a module within your message, you can then click what you want to do. And you'll see down here it says module edit. So these are the functions I'm going to have to actually play around with this specific section of my message. Now, if I click this one here, it'll actually bring me back so I can change the writing. But most of what you want to do is you've got these two A's, and that's actually showing the size changing. If I click into this, you'll see I've got a variety of different elements to play with. Font size, 12 by 10, can come really, really small. I can go really, really big. So let's say I go 32 by 32. You can see it's now quite large. I don't want it to be that big, so I'm actually going to bring this back down, and I'm going to go 12 by 10, just because it'll be easier because we're going to have 2 lines of code for this demonstration. I've got multiple width here. Essentially, that is just the width of the message, but there's also another area we can play with. Character direction, character inversion, character spacing dot. All of these are just small things that we can play with. Most of them are quite self-explanatory, but again, consult the manual if you like, because we're just going to do a fairly quick setup here. I'm just going to select tick here, and you can see it's quite small now, and I have my zoom or zoom out. The other thing I want to be able to do is just change the position here. So I'll ensure I have my red square, and I'll click these arrows. Now that'll allow me to drag this around to wherever I want it to go to. Another option you can do is select it, click this, and I can actually use the arrows here just for that micro adjustment. I know I want this to be all the way at the top and left, what I'm about to do. Now I have that message, but I also want to put something underneath it. So what am I going to do? Go back to create module. I know I want to actually do a date this time, so I'm going to click this calendar. I'll click up here again, click my pencil. Now I'm going to put something in here. So these all these symbols and letters actually relate to something else. So Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, they're actually the 4 characters of the year. So if it's 2025, Y1 is the first 2, Y0 is the first 0, Y3 is the second 2, and Y4 is the 5. D1, D2 is the days, and then capital M's over here is our months. The lowercase m's here is minutes, hours, seconds. You've kind of got everything here if you really want to go to the exact second when your product was produced and to have it written on every single product that you're actually coding. For this instance, all I'm going to do is just do today's date. So I'm just going to go day 1, day 2, / month 1, month 2, / and I'll just do the last 2 numbers of the year. So you can see I've got that here. Just going to click tick, offset. So let's say you're doing a product and you know that the expiry is going to be 2, 3 years or months down the line. You can just change this and say, I want it to be 6 months further down the line than where we currently are. For this particular instance, I'm just going to leave it as is. Set. We've got this here. You can see it's actually the same message that I created above. You're going to select. You can see now this date is significantly larger than what I have this top message. As I said, that's the versatility of the KGK. We can have every individual element slightly different, which is really advantageous in situations, but for this message, I want these to be the same. So I know I've made this message up the top 12 by 10, so I've got my red square around my date. I'll come down to my edit section. I'm just going to change my font size down to 12 by 10 as well, and now these are the same size. Now, there's a bit of a gap in between these two. I can have them right next to each other. I can have a big gap in between them. I can kind of do whatever I want. Now, earlier I said I can have as many lines of message or code I want in this. You can see here I have vertical dots. So this is essentially the pixels of that message. in this instance right now, we know when I clicked into this, we made this 12 by 10. 12 is the vertical height and 10 is the horizontal height of each individual character. So this 0 or 9 has 12 pixels moving up it. And we have 36 vertical dots, which means I could put in one more message and have 3 lines of code, all 12 by 10, and they'll fit snugly here. If I want to increase it to have 4 or 5 lines of text, I will need to decrease the size of these messages because I can't have 4 lines of 12 pixel high text because that would be 48 vertical dots, and our maximum is 36. So just keep that in mind. Now that I've got these here roughly in position, I can now proceed with this message if I want to. If I want to add some other stuff in there, I could. For the sake of it, let's just put a barcode in there. Same thing, barcodes are just a number. Set. Code must be an even number. Cool, it's just letting me know that I need to have an even set of numbers whenever I'm using this. Select. Cool. I'm just going to slide this down. Okay, now we can jump out and see our whole message here. Now that I've set this up roughly where I want it to be, I'm just going to click this tick, set. Now if I go into message selection, you'll see we've got green bottle, which is the message here, or I can go back to pack test, which is the message I was working with earlier today. We're going to run this one and just take a look at it. You now see on our home screen that we actually have the message on display here. If I wanted to select a different message, I could just quickly jump in using the select method. But for what we're going to be doing now, that's all I need to do. The next step I'm going to jump through into is just this conditions. You can see here the image just has a display of a conveyor belt with some boxes running down and this little red line here, which is our sensor. And then it says here the delay, which is in millimeters. This image is based off if you're using an encoder. All of our machinery is sent out with a photoelectric sensor. The difference being an encoder is measuring the speed that the conveyor belt's moving, so you can actually measure the distance versus with our photoelectric sensor, essentially we're going to get a signal and then a certain amount of time will pass and then we'll eject. You can see here we've got the message and I've got the vertical height here. It says recommend height setting 21 or below. So you can see in the message itself we can control the individual modules to different sizes, and then the overall message we can deal with here. I would consider this a macro or really large change in the settings using these if you want to do everything at once. But if you wanted to control the individual elements with greater control, then I would do it within the message itself. So I'm going to leave my height. You can see I've got pitch here, which is how far out the spread of the dots are in between each other, similar to the width that we saw on the other page. We've got density. Some people like being able to see the individual dots that go in the container. Some people want to look like a solid line. That'll be how you play around with it. Print direction, orientation. So if I jump into print direction, I can print forward or reverse. That is going to entirely depend on what orientation you've actually set up the print head when you've been using it. Orientation, forward inverted, same thing. It's just going to be upside down or normal. The main thing you will play with here is your delay. This is how long from when our photoelectric sensor gets triggered until the printhead will actually eject the message. Just going to jump across to PhotoCell here. You can see this is set up as standard with time. Make sure it is set to time. That is what we will be using. The rest of these, we're not going to have too much in here. And if you want any more information on these, I'd highly tell you to have a look at our technical manual or guide because it's got a lot of information in there. So right now my delay is set to 25. In general, I would say your magic number is going to be somewhere between 50 to 200. Depends on the speed of the conveyor, depends on the speed of the container moving past the printhead itself. I'm going to set this to about 100. Set, back. Our message is there. We set our rough delay approximately. Green light's on. Now we can run a container past and we can see what we get. Let's take a look.